And hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of Forbes Sports Money. I'm Bob Lorenz, joined as always by my co-host Michael Ozanian of Forbes Magazine. And we're joined in the studio by friend of the show, Chuck Baker, an elite sports attorney at DLA Piper. So let's begin our show with the latest NBA team values, guys. And give us a quick snapshot, Michael, of the latest team valuations.
How's this for a quick snapshot, guys? I don't think the NBA could be doing any better than it is right now. The average team is now worth $1.1 billion, the first time ever NBA team values went past $1 billion. And aside from the Brooklyn Nets, every other NBA team is profitable.
All right, so what's driving those kinds of increases right now, Chuck?
That's a great question, Bob. I think it's a number of things. I think, for one, the NBA obviously just signed a huge new media deal, tripling the last deal. Secondly, the international growth prospects for the league are enormous right now. Thirdly, they've got labor peace. There's a scarcity in terms of teams available. The Hawks are on the market, the Nets maybe. And then there's what I always call the cool factor. I mean, how cool is it to own an NBA team?
Are you asking me? Because I don't know, but I'd love to know and find out one day. We also, I wonder, by the way, Steve Ballmer knows that right now. And Michael and I joke about this, but we call it the Ballmer effect because of him writing a check for $2 billion overvalue for the Clippers. How much of a ripple effect has that had?
Well, some would say it's overvalued, some wouldn't. I do think it has a ripple effect. I think that when anybody pays that price for a team in a league with a set number of teams, it's going to have a ripple effect. That said, I think there were certain things that came together in L.A. For Steve Ballmer. It's L.A. It's the second biggest media market in the world. He could afford the team. It was a heated and quick auction. And lastly, there was the white knight effect. There was this perception, right or wrong, that Steve Ballmer was coming in and sort of saving the team. And so I think it's a bit of an outlier, but I do think it has a ripple effect.
And we also always talk about TV rights deals. Chuck mentioned the national one, which helps. And then, of course, the local one for the L.A. Clippers is going to help that team as well, right?
Yeah, that deal is expected to probably triple, certainly more than double. And I think it's really fascinating, too, because you look at Ballmer. Here's a guy, right, the former CEO of Microsoft, Pierce O'Donnell, Shelley Sterling's attorney, the wife of Donald Sterling, the party that sold the team, said he never even saw the financials of the Clippers. So when you got that kind of money, I think the fact that it was an L.A. team. But I got to ask Chuck, going back to the global prospects of the NBA, how much money are we talking about, and what type of growth rate, roughly, are we seeing in the NBA right now from overseas?
That's a good question, Mike. So I believe that the NBA really has only started to monetize its international operations. Last year, 13-14 season, international operations accounted for about $350 million of a $5.6 billion pool. So really very, very little. Growing estimated to be about 18.5% year on year. So I think we're going to continue to see that increase. And I think as Adam and his colleagues work to monetize the potentiality of the NBA overseas, it's going to grow pretty astronomically.
All right, so where else would he see the growth opportunities overseas, Adam Silver? It's already in China, obviously, but where else?
China, for sure. China has 350 million reported NBA fans, more than the population of the U.S. India, another great market, probably the second most popular sport in India. Europe and South America, I think all great growth opportunities.
Yeah, and I think if you look at where a lot of the NBA players come from today, it's a good thing in terms of international growth prospects that so many of them come from outside of the United States, right? And they're very widely followed on social media, which, going back from our segment on Ron Adive, the new owner of the Sacramento Kings, we know that's going to be an increasingly important part of the business model of the NBA.
And that really seems, over the past 5 to 10 years, a big boom for leagues as well, right? Get as many people involved in social media as possible.
It has been. And for the NBA, I think they're probably the most well-followed U.S. sports league on social media. I was reading that 9 of the top 10 U.S. athletes on social media are actually NBA players. Over 50% of the NBA.com traffic comes from overseas. So they've done a good job on the social media front.
All right, guys, I'll tell you what, let's take a quick break. And when we return, we will discuss the NBA teams that may or may not be on the market, as well as the newest developments regarding an NFL team in Los Angeles when we continue on Forbes Sports Money. And welcome back once again to Forbes Sports Money. We have got sports lawyer Chuck Baker with us as we continue our discussion now of the NBA. And we move on to teams for sale or potentially for sale. We know the Atlanta Hawks are. How much more attractive of a property, Chuck, are they now? They were considered potentially just to be the majority stake, but now they're 100% for sale.
So I'm representing the ownership group. I need to say that. But they are an attractive team. With 100% sale, you can count on a control premium usually because a new buyer would like to own the team outright. They've got a new local TV deal, which is outstanding. They've got a very young roster, and they've got a ton of salary room. So I think they're a very attractive franchise.
And then, of course, the national TV deals, et cetera. The idea of global appeal, as we've talked about, would be appealing to anybody coming in to buy that franchise or any other.
Yeah, and the beauty of Atlanta that people don't think about is it's 3 hours from many major cities. So if you took a compass, we had those in my days, and drew a circle around Atlanta, you'd see we're within 3 hours of New York, Chicago, Miami, obviously another number of big southern cities. And so it makes it very easy for a prospective owner to hop on a plane, get to Atlanta, get back in time. And so it makes it very attractive.
Good cop. Okay, I'm going to play bad cop here.
All right.
Everything that Chuck said, of course, is absolutely true. I'm going to say that based on what I'm hearing on the numbers, between anywhere from $700 million to $1 billion, I'm going to say it's going to be under $900 million. And if I'm wrong, I'll come back here and fess up. Excluding that $124 million bond on the arena, I'm going to knock that out. It'll be under $900 million because of this reason.
You know what,
they're still having trouble selling tickets, and they got a great team.
But I will also now kind of audit myself from the first segment where I said maybe Ballmer paid too much for what the value of the team was at the time. He probably did, but isn't any team worth whatever value somebody's willing to pay for it?
Absolutely. So I'll take the over with that, with you on that, Mike. Yeah, I think there's a scarcity value in the NBA. The NBA is an exceedingly well-run league, very stable, long-term growth prospects. When you buy a team, you're buying a 30th of that league. You're not just buying the team itself. I think the Hawks have tremendous opportunity, and so, like I said, I'll take the over.
You know what? I'll actually agree with Chuck. You know why, Mike? I call it the eBay effect, right? Somebody that's buying the team doesn't want to pay over $1 billion, right? Then what do when they get to the finish line? I'll pay $1.1 billion.
I guess
I'll pay what's the other one? I'll pay $1.5 billion.
It looks like I'm buying lunch here.
All right, let's move on now and talk about the potential sale of another team. We're hearing that the Brooklyn Nets, Mikhail Prokhorov, at least would be listening to offers. You're also involved in this to a certain extent, so we'll preface it by saying that. But is this a team, as we've looked at the valuations in our first segment, that's going to get a premium as well?
Hey, Brooklyn, New York is hot. Brooklyn, New York is hot. That goes to the cool factor, right? Yeah, I think that Brooklyn will extract a substantial premium. I think if the entire team is for sale, they'll get a healthy premium. Mike's number is probably pretty close. If the arena were to be for sale as well, it would be a pretty ridiculous number, exceedingly high. You know, there's only one New York, and Brooklyn has become pretty popular.
Did you want to play bad cop again here, Mike?
Of course. I know you're going to take Chuck's side again, so I might as well make it 2 lunches. I would just say, look, I would be a little cautious with this team. I unequivocally agree with Chuck that the trophy premium could be big in Brooklyn, approaching almost an LA-type premium. Because don't forget, in LA with the Clippers, Ballmer paid $400 million more than the next highest bid, which was Oprah Winfrey's group. I don't know it would be that much of a premium here, but this is a team that's losing a lot of money. After this season, they still have 1 more year of a very high salary cap figure, which that tax that they're paying on their payroll is a big reason why they're losing money. So you got to be willing to have deep pockets and hold on if you're looking to get money back from a $1.5 billion purchase or something higher.
Now, as a buyer, and we've talked about a lot of these NBA teams are making money, if the Nets are losing money, as Mike suggested, if I'm a buyer and I'd have to be a billionaire, would it bother me, or would I look at it like, look, I'll make it up somewhere else?
I mean, any buyer is going to look at the current financial situation. I think most buyers, when they're looking at these clubs, are counting on capital appreciation, notwithstanding current operating losses. So if I'm a buyer looking at the NBA, again, I'm looking at a long-term, stable growth equity. And there's a lot of money in New York, just like L.A. Substantial wealth, hedge fund, private equity, real estate communities. I do think there's somebody out there that would love to get their hands on an NBA team in New York. New York teams rarely trade hands. It's been a long time since the last one, so this really will be a trophy asset.